Welcome back, guys. We're doing another Warcraft Total War faction preview, and this time it's the Kingdom of Stromgarde, and this is the last human faction that I'll be covering. I've covered all the other ones, but it is one of the more interesting human factions. I think it has more variety than most, more unique units, especially very good melee and cavalry units. And like always, we're going to start with the weakest unit, the human spear militia. Terrible, never get them, bad stats, bad abilities, and they can't stand in line. Never ever get them, not even as a garrison. Totally useless. Then we have the human pikemen, and they have very low stats, but their abilities, the spear wall, the bonus against cavalry, they're definitely worth it if you're facing a faction that uses a lot of cavalry. But if not, not really worth it. Maybe as a garrison, they're okay. Then we have the human sergeants, and better stats than the pikemen. And instead of the shield wall, they can do the Schildtram. They also have the bonus against cavalry. And one thing to keep in mind with this unit and the pikemen and most of the standard human units is you can upgrade their armor quite a bit. So even though it says 14, if you have the right blacksmith building, you can get that up to 15 or even 16 if you get the higher tier ones. Then we have the human footmen, the standard infantry of all human factions. They're not bad. Their attack is a little low, but their defense is pretty good, especially like I mentioned, you can upgrade their armor quite a bit, 15, 16, and they can make a shield wall. So kind of a solid average infantry, definitely worth recruiting. And here we have our first unique Stromgarde unit, the Red Legion of Erathor, which is a really cool name. They are pretty good. 11 attack, 22 defense, they inspire nearby troops, and they can do a shield wall. Like, not bad. Not bad at all. But they have an even better unique unit, and this is one of my favorites. Great Swords of Erathor. They look absolutely amazing. The helmets, the shoulders, the huge two-handed axe, absolutely amazing. 13 attack, 12 defense. Now you might be thinking, well, that defense is a lot lower than the previous unit. However, they have armor penetration, and I think that makes all the difference. I would definitely rather recruit these guys than the Red Legion. The Red Legion's not bad, but the armor penetration really takes the cake. And they also share the ability to inspire nearby units. So definitely a really good unit. These guys, like, recruit them as much as you can. They're pretty good. Then we have the standard shock troops of every human faction. Dismounted Paladins. Goes without saying. Definitely get them. 14 attack, 24 defense, 3 hit points. And they have armor penetration. Always a good unit to have. Then we have another unique unit. These guys look wild as hell. The Troll Slayers. 15 attack, 13 defense, 2 hit points, right? So like not bad. But their abilities is where they really shine. So they have a war cry, they can go berserk, they have a bonus against cavalry, they have armor penetration, and on top of all of that, they also scare enemy units. So just amazing, amazing. The actual stats are kind of almost mediocre, but with the abilities, they really make up for it. Then we have the standard human archers, and you know, they're not bad. What really makes them worth recruiting, it's not the stats, it's the armor penetration combined with long range missiles. Then we have human crossbowmen. They have similar stats to the human archers. They also have armor penetration. However, if you can choose between the crossbowmen and archers, I would recommend getting the archers because the crossbowmen don't have the long range ability, so they're a little bit worse. Human riflemen, not bad. Because they're using rifles, of course you're going to have armor penetration. Definitely worth recruiting. But the riflemen are a little bit more expensive. And then we have the first and only Spellcaster unit for Stromgarde. They're not really into magic. And, you know, it's not bad. Kind of a mediocre spellcasting unit. But, you know, that's not their strength. Stromgarde's strength, like I mentioned in the beginning, they have very good infantry, very good cavalry. And speaking of cavalry, cavalry is next. And we have the standard human cavalry. These guys are pretty bad because of the low attack. Considering how many more cavalry options Stromgarde has, I would say definitely don't recruit these guys unless you absolutely have to. Then we have the Eagles. I've talked about them before. Even though they seem to have pretty good abilities, their extremely low defense makes them pretty worthless as cavalry, especially because they cost 4k. Way too expensive for a unit with 3 defense. No. Don't get Eagles no matter what. Don't get them. And then next we have a very special unit. Look at these spiked maces. The Fists of Strum. One of the best cavalry units in this whole mod. 15 attack, which is higher than most cavalry. 28 defense. 2 hit points. And they inspire nearby enemy troops. And also, it's pretty cheap considering how good their stats are. Very, very powerful cavalry unit. As soon as you can get these guys, recruit them as much as you can. You're gonna absolutely demolish enemy cavalry. Then we have the standard human Knight's Bodyguard. Talked about it before. It's kind of mediocre for a faction bodyguard, but the defense does make them worth recruiting. Also, they have 0 upkeep, which is a big advantage that human factions have. Then we have another unique Stromgarde unit, the Red Legion Equestrian. Might be saying it wrong. Another really good heavy cavalry unit, 12 attack, 27 defense, 2 hit points, they inspire nearby troops. So in addition to the Fists of Strom, you can also recruit Red Legion. Really, really good cavalry options. Then we have the Mud Golems that I've talked about before, an extremely good monster unit, 23 attack, 40 defense, 12 hit points, inspires nearby troops, scares enemy troops, special attack, and you get all of that for 4k. Definitely worth recruiting, maybe even a little bit too OP, but they at least kind of look like doo-doo, so I guess that evens out. Then we have the mounted Paladins, and this is always one of the best units that human factions can recruit. 18 attack, 33 defense, 8 hit points, armor penetration, and they're fast moving, extremely fast moving, so you can use them very tactically. Always a unit that you should have on the battlefield if you can. Then we have the Trebuchet, which is just standard stats from vanilla Medieval 2. You know, it's okay. Now let's look at the remaining unit roster that I have to put on an AI army. So this is interesting. Stromgarde has its own archer militia. Usually it just says human archer militia or archer militia, but I think because they have slightly different stats, they're called Strom archer militia. So I think they're slightly better than the typical archer militia unit that human factions have. And I think what might be making it different is that it has the armor penetration trait. I'm pretty sure the usual bow militia doesn't have that. So very, very good unit for a militia unit. Definitely worth recruiting just because of that armor penetration trait. That makes all the difference. Human great cannon, you know, it's an okay cannon, pretty similar. I think the stats are the same as the Great Cannon in vanilla. And then Strum Sword Militia, again, usually just says Human Militia or Sword Militia. Having it be a faction-specific version of the militia, they have slightly better stats than the standard type. So yeah, I think that makes them worth recruiting. And finally, the last unit, Mortar Team, just the standard Mortar Team from vanilla Medieval 2. It's okay, could be useful, especially during a siege. And that's it. That's all of Stromgarde. They have quite a lot of good infantry and cavalry units, quite a lot of variety, better militia units than most other factions. Definitely one of the best human factions you can play as. Top 2, I would say. So that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, helps the channel a lot. Subscribe if you want to be notified for more of these faction previews. I still have a few more left to do. And I'll see you guys on the next one.